We don't like change orders.
No.
Why don't we like change orders?
We don't like change orders because we want to capture everything before we start. Change orders are a last resort. That's my thought process. We'll continue that moving forward.
Welcome back to From Dirt to Doorknobs, the podcast that takes you behind the curtain of residential construction. I'm your host, Brian Zanini. As always, we're sponsored here today by Cal Homeco Construction. At Cal Homeco, our mission is to build 1,000 doors by the year 2032 to help prevent or to help solve some of the housing crisis here in San Diego. We're about 4 years behind, 400,000 units behind livable habitable space. So we're trying to be a proponent of helping that cause. Today, I am joined by one of our project managers. Title of the episode will be The Secret to a Stress-Free Build, Insights from a Project Manager. We're joined by Shane Stone. He's been with the company a little over a year. Great addition to the company. He's currently managing 4 projects for us. Shane, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So give me a little bit of info about you. What does the world need to know about Shane?
My name's Shane Stone. As Brian stated, project manager. Been here for over a year. It's been a great experience. Husband, father to a beautiful wife, 2 children, and lived in San Diego my whole life. So happy to still be here in this beautiful weather.
Yeah, I heard you almost killed your kid in a sledding accident.
Yeah, that was supposed to be snow, but Big Bear likes to produce ice. So.
Yeah. Just kidding. Ice goes fast. I'm sure you learned that the hard way. Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. What I'd really like to do is pick your brain and talk to you a little bit. Obviously I'm director of sales and marketing for the company, so I'm working on the sales side, pre-construction project management. And then you basically take over when shovel hits dirt and we're going ground up on the vertical build, which is great because that handoff comes with a nice introduction, an on-site kickoff meeting. We have processes in place. But when you do get introduced to a client for one of your projects that you're assigned to, what do you feel like is maybe the biggest concern or maybe one of the first questions that comes to mind to a homeowner that maybe, we need to make sure that we're communicating early on?
Turnover is the first thing that comes to mind. When we get notified that this will be our project, the first thing I do is, I go print out a set of plans and dive into them and learn the details so that way when we show up for that first introduction, the on-site kickoff where the clients meet the project manager, we can speak to their job before even commencing. So the forward planning aspect there is definitely important. It's something that every project manager should do. That's what that's what we're hired for. So you need to learn the job.
And that's part of the proven process that we've put in place. Starting with a discovery call, we learn whether or not the client's a good fit for us. Once, we decide that they are, we move into the estimating portion of it, get a bid in front of them, have a proposal review. Once we agree to work together, that's what you're talking about. We have an internal turnover meeting where we sit down, the salesperson and the project manager that's assigned, the estimator, we go through the project, all the details, try to figure out all the potential hurdles or challenges on the project before we start building, so that if we need to get ahead of something, for instance, getting a hold of SDG&E and getting that lined up, because that can be a delay, as you know. Yes. Then we have our on-site kickoff meeting where you meet the client, and essentially that's when our job starts. Yeah. What can you expect when working with a project manager at Cal Homeco?
Well, communication to start, but professionalism all the way through from commencement of work to finish. So those go hand in hand. I bring those up because part of what we discussed was the getting the plans, diving into the details, and learning the job so that we can communicate any discrepancies or potential discoveries we may find throughout the build, and then being able to communicate that to our clients in a fashion where we can relay a clear message on what needs to happen so that they have a smooth build overall.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How would you say that our processes differ from your typical chaotic build that you might have seen on other properties from other contractors?
Yeah. Our standard operating procedures is a big one. We come from a background of military experience here. There's a lot of military within a company. So we were able to adopt those policies or those practices that the military is adamant about implementing, and bring them over here to Cal Homeco so that we have a structured process from start of job through the thick of it, through every phase, and through completion.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Blake, the president, 20 plus year Navy veteran, Sean Stone, our director of operations, 20 plus year Navy veteran, with a couple of our other project managers, along with yourself, background in the military. Used to do front flips out of helicopters. That's pretty
right.
cool.
Yeah,
I think I saw that video before you even got hired, and I was like, if he can do that, he can handle a project. He can handle an ADU.
That's right.
So yeah, having that military background has been actually, I think, a big component of our success and our processes, in the sense that there are standard operating procedures for everything we do, start to finish. Yes. That helps us stay organized. That helps our project managers stay organized, and making sure that we're communicating with our clients on a regular basis to be proactive. Tell us a little bit about what the communication part of every project looks like for you when communicating with clients.
Yeah, full transparency. That's my goal, is to not miss steps and let the clients know that where we're at in the construction process, certain things need to happen. So part of the full transparency is the end of the week updates that we provide our clients, which is what was accomplished this week, what they can expect next week, and then any issues and obstacles or pertinent information that we can provide them, so that we can constantly plan for the following week until closeout. So that's our communication process. Mine is full transparency, so that we're not missing anything.
Sure.
And the clients aren't going to be surprised if I bring something up. So
right. If
I can, get a job and foresee something happening, I'll communicate that early. So that way, if it does come up, it's not a surprise. But if it doesn't come up, great, crisis averted.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's key too. And one of the other things that we've instilled in this company is, on the sales side, I get horror stories all the time from people like, yeah, you're just like every other contractor probably. Last time I worked with a contractor, I got ghosted. Our pledge to every client on every project is that if you have a question or a concern, we're going to get back to you within 24 hours or one business day, along with those weekly updates. And I think a big part of our success in being able to stay on budget and time is that communication, right? We're not over communicating, but we're communicating just enough. We're getting ahead of issues. We're being proactive instead of reactive. Mm-hmm. And that way, if we see something coming up a few weeks away, let's solve that problem now, have those conversations now, so that by the time we face that problem in real time, we have an answer.
Yeah.
We have a solution.
Yeah. To add to that, a lot of our clients don't live within the city or sometimes out of the state. So right. That communication has to happen. It's very important. Otherwise, they're left in the dark. We have, I'd say, a lot of our clients, these are investment properties. They're one of the largest investments they might make, or if not the largest investment they make. And so that communication is what they're paying. What they're paying for is an experience with Cal Homeco. That's what we love to provide. So communication is key in that process for peace of mind on their end, knowing that their investment is taken care of.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess one question I'd want to ask too is just along with communication, we pride ourselves in our estimating. We're very thorough. Our proposals are between 20 and 25 pages long. You're going to know exactly what you're getting for what the bottom line number is, right?
Yes.
We want to make that very clear and very transparent from the start. And in doing so, we really pride ourselves on our change order ratio, which means the amount of change orders to the amount of work performed, right? So out of the $19.5 million that we're doing currently, mm-hmm. we're at less than 2% on a change order. We don't like change orders. No. Why don't we like change orders?
We don't like change orders because we want to capture everything before we start. Change orders are a last resort. That's my thought process. And we'll continue that moving forward.
That being said, not all change orders are avoidable.
Not all change orders
there
are
are going to be things that happen that come up. There's things sometimes on the plans that, everything looks good two-dimensionally. It gets signed off by the city, and when you start to build it in 3D, it just doesn't work. The spacing's not right. I think you just had an example on one of your projects of clearance on stairs.
Yes.
How did you handle that issue?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. The 2D, 3D aspect, on paper, everything aligns. It looks great, gets approved by the city. But once you start building it, you'll find the discrepancies there. So the detail that we ran into on one of our jobs was in regard to stairs. It's a common discrepancy. There's been plenty of mistakes, and it's always called out by the city inspector anytime they see this. And it's in regard to how the stairs are detailed, where they're located, and any clearance overhead that may be an obstruction. So with all of that combined, there's a lot of considerations. And what we find is that when we construct these stairs, we're not meeting that code compliant, city code compliant. So you have to account for this corrective action and then know the trickle effect that's going to happen after you make an in-field decision. And that's a whole separate topic in itself. But through experience, looking at the plans, following the trends of this constant discrepancy and getting ahead of it, that's our goal. That is what we look for when we get told that hey, this is going to be your job, and we dive into those plans and we find these discrepancies before commencement of work so that we don't have any rework that we're going to do.
Yeah, so I guess let me ask you a question, and that's all kind of coming back to my point of us trying to be as proactive as possible, right? Is catching those things as early on as possible. Mm-hmm. That probably caused a little bit of a delay on the project, I would imagine.
Not so much on this one,
okay.
But it has caused delays on other jobs where we were even outside, we're not code compliant within an inch, and unfortunately you can't work around that. It's not going to be accepted. It's a safety hazard. So yes, it caused a delay.
Yeah.
Just to move the staircase in 1 inch so we can receive that code compliant.
Yep.
Thumbs up. But yeah, this aspect, no. Other jobs, yes.
So, well, let me ask you this question. What if you were to go ahead and build the stairs to the plans that were approved by the city?
Yes.
And then the inspector comes out and says, this is not to code.
Yeah.
What does that do to your timeline? What does that do to the cost of the project?
Well, there's a lot, because, we're talking stairs, so we're talking second floor, and we're talking floor systems layout and potential beams in the way. So it can be very costly if you put all of your faith into the plans and gets called out after the fact. You're talking about completely disassembling the stairs or cutting the stairs out and rearranging the floor systems, which then could result in sending the plans back to an engineer to get new calculations, or the architect to get new drawings and shift walls. And I mean, the list goes on, because it's not just the wood framing, it's also the plumbing aspect, the mechanical aspect or electrical aspect. And
well, then also considering that if there is a delay, now you're rescheduling subcontractors who have committed to a time slot to do their portion of the work. And if that gets pushed back, maybe they're not available the next week. So now you're scrambling to line up, the work to keep it on schedule.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So that is why I think we try to steer away from change orders as much as possible.
Yes.
Is it does mess with our schedule, and it does change our timeline, and it can affect the budget. So we try to capture as much as we possibly can as early on as possible based on the plan set. What would you say is, what do you feel attributes to your success in keeping a project on budget and on time?
On budget, on time. Well, for me, I think 2 weeks in advance. Think about the current week that we're in. I think about the week that's coming up and the following week, and how I can communicate to my vendors that I'm going to put on the job to get Cal Homeco in their time slot, right? So some phases we can have a good estimate on how long it's going to take. Sometimes these vendors provide us with how long it's going to take. And so with that information, we can relay that to the next vendor that's going to come in right behind them. So that's how we stay on schedule or get ahead of schedule.
I feel like you have to be ahead of schedule to stay on schedule.
Yes.
That's the key almost,
that
right? That's what I'm hearing you say. It's in order for things to happen on time, you've got to be 2 or 3 weeks ahead.
You have to. Yeah.
You can't afford to be reactive. You can't afford to wait until the windows need to go in to find out who's going to install them.
That's right. Material delays are a big thing. Purchasing equipment, sometimes this material is coming from overseas, and if they don't have any in-stock availability, then, well, now you have to wait on the next shipment, and that could be 2 weeks to a month, maybe longer, depending on the quantity or the quality that is being installed in your home. So staying on schedule is big. There's a lot of considerations for it. Forward planning is huge in that aspect. And to answer your other question on how we stay in budget, that is, it goes hand in hand with what we discussed about knowing the plan set, knowing any discrepancies that are going to be a potential issue during the build. So if you can find those, you can avoid any additional costs that may be done from rework.
Right.
So that's important.
And I asked you as a project manager how you keep things on schedule and on budget, and that was a little bit of a loaded question, only because there are two sides, and I like to bring this up only because we're fortunate enough to be able to select the clients we want to work with, not just the projects because we need work, but really connecting with clients that we feel like we're going to have a good relationship with. You're working with these people for 6 months, a year, sometimes on some of the bigger projects. So you want to make sure that it's a good fit both ways. And there is some accountability that falls on the client. Decisions need to be made. Responses need to happen. If we don't get answers, we're not just going to move forward and install something that potentially they don't want. Yeah. Right. So what do you think is the single most important thing a homeowner can do to ensure their build will go smooth?
Yeah. Well, I think remembering that this is their project as much as it is ours. I treat every job as if it were my own. And if you're going to start this process, you need to think about all of the details that you would want in your investment. There's a lot. Some we can assist in, but other aspects we need their input. And so doing their homework and knowing what paint colors they want to choose, or stucco textures, or flooring material, the list goes on of the finishing products for a home. If we can get those as soon as possible, then all we have to do is purchase and install.
Yep.
If we try and get these selection items as we're coming up on the phase, well, then that runs into the delay issue of, is the material available?
Is it in stock?
Yeah, is
right.
it in stock? And
when
we don't
can
want
we get it?
Yeah, we don't want any unnecessary delays. So we have a cabinet design meeting that we start in the beginning process shortly after we do commencement of work, so that we can tackle these selection items and get them thinking about
cabinets, countertops,
exactly,
flooring,
and how they want their interior design to look.
Right.
So, that is a good way to stay on schedule as well.
I love that. What is your favorite type of project to manage? What do you have right now? What do you have right now on your plate?
Yeah,
you have.
I have. We're finishing up 2 projects right now. One is a ADU over an existing garage.
Yep.
With a covered balcony and a nice patio there. And then the other one was a 2-unit building with a carport, metal carport. Mm-hmm. So that was a fun project, both located up in Escondido. The other 2 is College area. That's a 2-story, 1,200 square foot ADU, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And the last one, which we just started up, is 2 buildings, 3 stories, 4 units total. So that's a big one. We're excited for that one. We just completed the grading aspect, and now we're going to start working foundation.
So you have a pretty big mix of, standalone ADU, multi-units. If you had the choice, if you were like, every project I take, I want it to be like this, do you have something in mind, or do you like to change it up?
I know I like the multifamily because I like the challenge. The details are a lot more intricate there.
Awesome.
There's a lot more engineering involved the higher you go, and there's a lot more considerations that you need to have as far as traffic control or building material and whatnot. So it takes a lot more coordination, and I don't like backing down from a challenge, so that's how I view that. That's a challenge for me to see how smooth I can get this build going, and hopefully the answer is smooth all the way through. So I do my part to make that happen.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Construction doesn't have to be stressful. With the right project manager who is proactive and communicates well and informs their clients, you can actually learn to enjoy the process. And, you know, the team here at Cal Homeco, with all of our systems and our processes and our transparency, that's what we're really trying to provide is an experience that you're going to walk away from. You're going to feel confident telling your friends and family, hey, I worked with a great contractor. You know, if they're looking to build anything, here's their information. This project manager was great. Request Shane. He's going to do a great job for you. So at the end of the day, we're really just trying to build an experience for you that you're going to remember. Our clients come, you know, first. We're here to take care of our clients, but also make sure we do things right and be honest about anything that comes up. And Shane, thank you for letting us know what a day in the life of a project manager here at Cal Homeco looks like. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you.